Good morning and welcome to the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living here on Airport Boulevard. We're so glad that you're here in the room and at home, wherever you're listening. My name is Marianne Atwell Hardy, and I'm a licensed spiritual practitioner here. And we're going to start today, as we always do, with about 15 minutes of quiet and meditation before our service starts. So, get comfortable in your chair. Just wiggle around. Get your feet grounded. I heard a good meditation this week that had to do with grounding and the idea of coming home. Many people, when they first come to the center here, will say, I felt like I'm come home. And coming home means a lot of different things. It can mean actually coming into yourself, into your breath. It can mean coming home to your relationship with the divine. But to me, it's just a good way of saying, let me get quiet, let me get still, let me connect with Source, let me come home. So, what I invite you to do is when you breathe in, say, I am. And when you breathe out, you say, home. I am home. I am home. So we're going to be quiet now and just let you connect with your breath, get grounded, and come home, whatever that means to you. I am home. part of the lyrics are every road is a slippery slope. There's always a hand you can hold on to. Looking deeper through the telescope, you can see your home's inside of you. Just know wherever you go, know you're never alone. You'll always get back home. Hmm. So we're home. So the service will start at 10:15. We'll see you soon. Mhm.
Oh yeah. Come on. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. One life living is you and me. Yeah. One light shining is you and me. Yeah. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. All right. One life living is you and me. Yeah. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. Oh yeah. Come on. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living is you and me. One light shining is you and me. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. All right. One life living, it's you and me. Yeah. One light shining, it's you and me. Oh. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy, I just want to shout. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy, I just want to shout. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. Oh yeah. Come on. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy, I just want to shout. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy, I just want to shout. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. Oh yeah. Come on. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy, I just want to shout. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy, I just want to shout. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining, it's you and me. One love loving, it's you and me, 'cause God is all there is. Oh yeah. Come on. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. One life living, it's you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. Cause God is all there is. I'm shining.
Good morning, everyone. Woo! There is a crowd in here today that is boisterous and filled with joy and excitement at being here, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so very much for joining us here at the 4 Points by Sheridan, or perhaps inviting us into your home today. I'm so very glad that you did. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Dusty Rippelmeyer, and I happen to have the privilege and the honor of being this community's spiritual director. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. Now, Centers for Spiritual Living believe that there is one power and presence that is back of everything that there is, seen and unseen, the creative energy that created everything, including each and every single one of us. Now, we believe that since we were created in its image and likeness, and knowing that it has that creative ability, then we know that we too have that creative ability. And we have, in fact, been creating all of our lives, whether we've been doing so consciously or unconsciously. And so what I know is that if we don't like the experience that we're having of our lives right now in this moment, that we can change it. Change your thinking, change your life is really so much more than a bumper sticker. It is a spiritual practice that we can lean into, and we get to use a power that is back of all of it. And so we come together on Sundays and on Wednesdays via Zoom. We have classes and we have social events that allow us to support each other as we walk our spiritual path, that allow us to remind each other who we really are when we begin to forget a little bit, when we're challenged by the circumstances of our lives and forget who we are. And so I'm very glad that we are all together, whether you are out there or whether you are here in the room, because I know that we're all connected no matter the miles or the space in between us. So thank you all for being here and joining us. Yes, thank you. And so the first Sunday of the month is our monthly celebration of all of those people that are celebrating their birthday during the month. So who here has a birthday in July? Number. Woo! And I'm going to assume that you've raised your hand out there, and our claps are for you also. So while we would love to be able to speak your name into the room, we don't want to leave one single person out. So we're just simply going to dedicate today's flowers, which are beautiful, to everyone with a birthday in July. So let's see if this sounds like you. People born in this month are highly optimistic. They know how to stay positive in any difficult situation. Instead of being anxious and losing hope, these people know how to make the most out of any situation. They know that things will be all right in the end, and therefore they never let any pessimistic thoughts rule their minds. People born in this month are inquisitive and are always eager to learn new things. They love to expand their knowledge, and therefore you may find them asking numerous questions. They love exploring new cultures and knowing about the people around them. These people have gentle and empathetic side for others. They understand people's pain and they try their best to assist those who need some support. They are kind and understanding for others, especially for those that are undergoing some serious issues. If you've ever known someone that was born in July, then you will agree that they are well organized. They're good at planning, organizing, and managing things. This allows them to give their best in whatever they do. People born in July typically want to play it safe and therefore will always work hard to ensure that they are financially secure and financially independent. Though they may spend some of their hard-earned cash to fulfill their requirements and desires, they know how to manage their money. Though these people are quite friendly, they love to spend me time. You will find them enjoying their me time by reading a book or cooking their favorite food, gardening, or simply doing something that makes them feel better. They do not like hanging out in crowded places because it doesn't make them feel comfortable. People born in July are generous, charming, and cherish their loved ones. They are typically very devoted family members. They have impeccable fashion sense and an amazing sense of humor. They know how to make people laugh. So everyone just reach out your hands towards those that were born in July and repeat after me. We see you. We know who you really are. We are grateful for you. We celebrate the day that you arrived on the planet. And we love you. Happy birthday. And of course, the second announcement is that Tuesday is the 4th of July. So happy 4th of July, a little bit early for everyone. Independence Day, or the 4th of July, is a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the Declaration of Independence, which was ratified by the Second Continental Congress on July 4th, 1776, declaring our freedom from Britain and establishing the United States of America. In Lessons in Truth, Emily Cady says, everyone wants to be free, free as the birds of the air, free from sickness, free from suffering, free from bondage, free from poverty. And they have a right to be. It is a God-given desire and a God-given right. The Buddha says, no one outside of ourselves can rule us inwardly. When we know this, we become free. And Barack Obama says our responsibility as citizens is to address the inequalities and the injustices that linger, that we secure our birthright freedoms for all people. And so it is. In this moment, I would like to thank Marianne for her beautiful meditation that enlarged the container that our service will unfold within. So thank you very much, Marianne. And speaking of Marianne, please welcome her back to the podium.
I'll go this way. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not here that long. I love the energy in the room today. Right? Yeah. All right. The theme for the year 2023 is Living Out Loud. And our theme for the month of July is Speaking Truth to Circumstances. Rev Dusty's talk title today is Monsters, Inc. And now I'm going to read this community's purpose statement, which is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, the love, intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives and to being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. with the energy of unconditional love. Simply, we are here for God. Oh, so now just get quiet. This helps us connect, to come home, to connect with God, with the divine, with what will unfold next. So I want you to just listen to the sound of the crystal bowls and follow the sound all the way through and let it reverberate within you.
I now welcome you to bring your attention back into your bodies and back into your rooms. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths, as represented by this ceremony. Please welcome Mark and Karen Daly, who will be assisting us this morning. Welcome. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principle of love and law. And the heart represents the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere, with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. And so it is. Thank you. Now I invite you once again to turn within as I speak a word of blessing on today's service. Recognizing in this amazing, sweet now moment that presence, that love that is God. Knowing it as the power back of all of creation, knowing it as peace, love, and joy. I recognize it as infinite wisdom and infinite intelligence. Its presence everywhere, all the time. There is nowhere that it is not. I know that I am one with that. I am one with all of those amazing qualities of God. I know that as the truth of me, as I know that as the truth of each person within the sound of my voice, each person on this planet, each sentient being, we are all one. I speak a word of blessing on today's service, knowing that it is a good God event, that it is perfect, complete, already in the mind of God. I speak a word of blessing on the amazing Reverend Dusty as she comes forward with today's message, knowing that Spirit speaks through her, and that as we listen with open minds and open hearts, that we will hear something that will forever change us. I speak a word of blessing on Marianne Hardy for her beautiful meditation that prepared the container for this service today, for her service on the pulpit today, and for her beautiful presence in our community. I speak a word of blessing on Sandy Hemingway as he comes forward to share his powerful music and beautiful songs. And I speak a word of blessing on all of the volunteers today, Martin and Amy and Rebecca. So grateful for their presence in our community and their powerful yes to serving us today. And I speak a word of blessing on our community itself, each and every person that makes up what we call the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, this home, this place to gather with like-minded individuals to share our hearts and minds, to learn and to grow and to celebrate life. I'm so grateful. Please anchor this prayer with me with our words, and so it is. Today's reading is from Joel Goldsmith. He says in Psalm 8, David says that we are crowned with glory and honor and endowed with dominion over all things. David is saying that you are mightier than circumstances. You are not only human, you are human and divine. And the divine in you always transcends the human. You are bigger than your littleness and stronger than your weakness. You have power and dominion over all life's experiences by the attitude with which you deal with it. And now we welcome the wonderful, the amazing, the talented Sandy Hemingway.
This song came to mind. This is one that I wrote during the COVID years, which were not kind to me. I lost the 4 people that were most important in my life leading right into COVID, and then by law required to isolate myself from everyone else on the planet. This is not a good combination for mental health. And I struggled with depression significantly. And this song is my speaking the truth about that. It's called Letting Go. so hard today, living in this space, trapped beyond the light. I lost everything that made me sing. All the souls who gave me life. I'll never have another father or a mother, but I know I can find a new life if I just try. It's so hard today. I have feet of clay. This broken heart has forgotten how to fly. So I must rise, and I must shine, and I must try to break these chains that bind. So it is time for me to climb until I find the strength I need to fly. Bye, 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 bye. So I take a breath and I take a step. Hope is all I have. I sit all alone in my gilded home, trapped beneath the sand, waiting for tomorrow to take away this sorrow. But I know I can find a new life if I just try. So I take a step and I try my best to find my wings and remember how to fly. So I must rise and I must shine and I must try to break these chains that bind. So it is time for me to climb until I find the strength I need to fly. Bye, bye. It's hard to move, but I must move on. This road may be dark, but I know in my heart tomorrow there will be a dawn. So I must rise and I must shine and I must try to break these chains that bind. Now it is time for me to climb until I find the strength I need to fly. Bye, 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 bye.
Thank you so very much, Sandy. That was absolutely beautiful. And thank you for sharing your story with all of us this morning. That was absolutely perfect. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Love you. So welcome to those of you who may have just arrived in the sanctuary or perhaps joined us online. Happy July. And our theme, as Marianne said earlier, for the month of July is Speaking Truth to Circumstances. Now, the mothership of Centers for Spiritual Living says that this is really a reboot of the phrase speaking truth to power. And power is a word that invokes many different kinds of reactions from people. But the underlying truth is that there really is only one power. And we don't need to speak the truth to that power, because in actuality, truth and power are the same in the spiritual realm. One presence, one power, one truth, one God. So what we're really facing is the smoke and the mirrors of circumstance and fear-based attempts at control masquerading as power. So this is what we're talking about today, the speaking truth to circumstances. And both of these things, the circumstances and control masquerading as power, will crumble underneath the truth. Because the circumstances are never true, right? They're changing all the time. They're not eternal. They change all the time. And they're different for every person that's experiencing them. So they're not the truth with a capital T, and control masquerading as power is never real. It's not real power. So this month we begin by looking at them right in the face. Looking at these, the title, right, is Monsters, Inc. So looking at these monsters right in the face. And by doing so, like in the movie of its name, we will begin to realize that things are not always as they seem. So in the movie Monsters, Inc., we are welcomed into the city of Monstropolis. Now, the city's power supply is supplied by Monsters, Inc., which is a utility company that employs monsters to scare children, and they extract the energy from their screams, which they store in energy containers. Happens all the time. So we find early on that in the city of Monstropolis is in the midst of an energy crisis. And it's in that energy crisis because they're finding that children are harder to scare than they ever have been before. And they also are realizing that working at the factory is considered dangerous because the human children are believed to be toxic. Can you imagine a child toxic? So while Monstropolis is part of the human world, is not part of the human world, they're separate, so it's not part of the human world, but it can be connected to children's bedrooms, you guessed it, through the closet door. So when a door is properly activated, then it becomes a portal between the monster world and the human world. So the company has a huge warehouse, and the huge warehouse is full of doors. And they have work areas called scare floors, where the doors are activated. And then they have a special training room in which the employees really be able to hone their scaring skills. Now, the company's best scarer is Scully Sullivan. Scully Sullivan. And his best friend and assistant is Mike Wazowski. Mike Wazowski. I spent a lot of time in Poland. I'm glad I could say that word. Sully's main rival is Randall Boggs, and the company's CEO is Henry J. Waternoose III. Now, one day, Scully finds an activated door on his scare floor at the end of the workday has already concluded, and there's still a door that's activated. So he finds nobody in the room behind the door, but then he notices a little girl about 2 years old who follows him back into the monster world. Now, far from being scared, she calls Sully Kitty. Kitty. And she delights in playing with him. Since monsters believe that the humans are toxic, Sully keeps trying to get her back into her own room, back through that closet door and into her own room. But every time he turns around, here she is following him back into the monster world. Now, unbeknownst to Sully, remember his rival Randall deactivates and stores the door while he's trying to do this. So the door is now deactivated and it's stored. And now, for all practical intensive purposes, the little girl is stuck in the monster world. The girl's presence becomes public knowledge after Sully tries to sneak her into a restaurant because he's trying to find Mike. He needs some help in all of this. So he tries to find Mike, and now everybody knows, because the word has gone far and wide, that this little girl is stuck in the monster world. So they hide her in Sully's home as the Child Detection Agency, the CDA. The CDA is looking for her. Now, Sully eventually names the little girl Boo. Boo. And he slowly bonds with her after really realizing that the human children are not as toxic as they were made out to be. See, everything is not as it seems to be. So the next morning, Sully and Mike disguise Boo in a monster costume and they sneak her into the warehouse, right? Now, Randall agrees. Should have been watching out for Randall, right? Randall agrees to help them return her back into her bedroom. But when Mike enters the room, Randall captures him, thinking that it's Boo in the costume that they have put her in. Things are not always as they seem. So Randall really intends to capture Boo and to connect her up to this machine, which is going to capture the energy in her screaming. Now, what follows is a sequence of battles and chases and mishaps in which Sully and Mike try to protect Boo from Randall and the Scream Machine. At the end of the movie, the heroes fare well and all is well. It's a Pixar movie, right? All is well. Sully becomes the CEO of Monsters, Inc., and the company has ended the energy crisis in Monstropolis. And they do so because Sully finds out, really discovers, that they can actually harness more energy from the children's laughter than they can from their screams. Nothing is always as it seems. So while Monsters, Inc. is an animated film, a monster movie in general is really a film that revolves around innocent civilians and emergency services struggling to stay alive in repeated battles with giant monsters, whatever they look like. Now, typically, movie monsters differ from traditional antagonistic kinds of things in that many exist due to circumstances beyond their control. Now, their actions are not entirely based on choice, which often allows for people to feel some empathy about the monsters while they're watching the movie. Think King Kong. You know, we had some empathy around the monsters. Everything is not always as it seems. So what is really interesting and insightful is that sometimes these monsters are purely symbolic. They're purely symbolic, and they really offer a closer look to each one of us that is watching the movie into a particular culture's fears or desires or values, or they may actually be based on human nature itself. So think about innocent civilians challenged by monsters, or big business, or pandemics, or natural disasters, or racism, or ageism, or sexism, or any of the isms, or drug cartels, or a plethora of things that we could think of, right? So over the past 3 or 4 centuries, Europeans and Americans in particular have really shaped anxiety and paranoia into the mythic figure of a monster. The embodiment of fear or disorder or confusion or doubt or panic or anxiety, right? This mythic figure of this monster. Leo Brody, in an article called Why We're Obsessed with and Afraid of Monsters, says that fictional monsters created during this period can actually be categorized into 4 different types. Now, each corresponds to a deep-seated anxiety or fear about progress, or about the future, or about our ability to control our environment. He adds that a 5th type may best represent the anxieties of the 21st century. So the first is that the monster from nature. The monster from nature. Now, this monster represents a power that humans think that they have harnessed, but they haven't really. So the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, King Kong, and Godzilla are all examples of this type. Now, this monster represents an abnormality that we cannot predict, and we actually scramble to be able to understand. It strikes without warning, like the shark in Jaws. While the obvious inspirations are real, ferocious animals, they could also be thought of as embodied versions of natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis. The monster from nature. The second is the created monster. Now, this is like Dr. Frankenstein's monster. This monster is the monster that we have built and believe we can control until it turns against us. Descendants are the robots, androids, cyborgs, that little thing that races around and vacuums your house while you're gone. Who knows what it does while you're gone? And the AI of today, with their potential to become all too human and threatening. The created monster. The third is the monster from within. Now, this monster is generated by our own repressed dark psychology, the other side of our typical human nature, right? Think about nondescript and seemingly harmless people turning into mass murdering killers or suicide bombers. This is the monster from within showing his or her face. The fourth is the monster from the past. Like Dracula, this monster comes out of a pagan world and represents the fear that our ordinary, everyday faith traditions are really bankrupt, and that somehow the only answer to the chaos of the world that we are living in today is to really secure as much power as we possibly can. This is the monster from the past. Now, the fifth monster type is reflected in the fact that recently our culture has become fixated on the zombie. There has been all kinds of zombie movies and stories that have recently popped up, right, that illustrate how fear, while it might be a basic human trait, actually assumes the shape of a particular area or era or a particular culture, right? So the central distinction between the traditional monsters, such as Frankenstein or Dracula, is that the zombie exists primarily as a part of a group. They're not standalone monsters like the earlier monsters, but one zombie is barely discernible or distinguishable from another one. They all kind of look alike. While you're running and looking over your shoulder and praying that you can run faster than your friend. Leo Browdy says, what might the horrific image of mindless hordes out to eat our brains represent in the 21st century? It could symbolize whatever we fear will overwhelm and engulf us. Epidemic diseases, globalization, Islamic fundamentalism, illegal immigrants, or refugees. Or it could be something less tangible and more existential. The loss of anonymity and individuality in a very complex world, or the threat of impersonal technology that makes each of us just another number in an electronic list. The zombies. Now, while Leo Browdy talked about a category called the monsters within, another article that I found by Kathy Shaw elaborated on them a little bit more, and I would like to share some of that with you, and I would like you to see if any of them sound like the monster beneath your bed, or the monster in your closet, or if you're like me, the monster that lives under the stairway that leads down into the basement. Vampires. Vampires are the thoughts that drain us. The thoughts that drain us. Blame, shame, judgment, and guilt. Or perhaps our desire for perfection. Ghosts. Ghosts are the unseen things that cause us fear. They are the terrifying what ifs. What ifs that keep us lying awake at night or that gnaw on us during the day. Frankenstein's monster. This monster is comprised of the bits and pieces of the envy and comparison that we have assembled when we compare ourselves to others or our spiritual path to somebody else, how they walk theirs. Cyclops. Now, often we have a singular way that we look at things. For example, we may find ourselves demanding perfection of others when we are, in fact, incapable of it ourselves. The mummy. Many of us fight this monster, which makes us overly wrapped up in ourselves. I thought that was a good one. The skeleton. This monster has very little substance. People who can talk the talk but don't walk the walk. Phantom of the Opera. This monster represents those of us that are so desperate for love, for admiration, or to belong that we will do anything to get it. That we give away our power and we lose ourselves by doing so. And lastly, the werewolf. This insidious monster is one who hides their real self until a specific situation arises. These are the people that are one way in one moment with one particular group of people, and then in another instant they transform themselves into something that's unrecognizable when they're with another group of people. Now, in her book, Everyday Grace, Marianne Williamson says, until we meet the monsters in ourselves, we keep trying to slay them in the outer world. And we find that we cannot. For all darkness in the world stems from darkness in the heart. And it is there that we must do our work. It is there that we must do our work. Now, I don't know about all of you, but today, for me, 2 days before Independence Day, I would really like for each of us to truly be free. I would really like for each of us to be free of the tendency that we have as human beings to look at our circumstances with anxiety and with fear. I would like each of us to be free of the thought that we need to be afraid of people that are different than we are. That the people, the places, the cultures, the races, and the religions that do not look or believe or think or eat or talk or love as we do are toxic. They are not. Nothing is always as it seems. I would like for each of us to be free from judgment, blame, shame, and guilt, free from manipulating or being manipulated, free from controlling or being controlled, free from the inclination to be afraid of the world that we live in. For that to happen, what do we need to do? I have 3 ideas this morning. Okay, I'm going to. The first is to remember that despite appearances, nothing is greater than the infinite presence. Nothing is greater than the divine. Nothing is greater than God. When we attempt to fight outside circumstances, we only give those circumstances power in our minds. When we engage in fighting with the other, we are caught up in a belief of separation, and we have lost faith in the infinite oneness that is truth of our lives. Now, this doesn't mean that we just sit on our prayer cushion all day long and don't do anything. It simply means that we gain the highest perspective that we possibly can so that when we do act, we are acting effectively from that high place. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will fall into place. The phrase speaking truth to circumstances can serve to remind us that all people, organizations, and circumstances are all equally the infinite in expression. Each and every single one of us, with absolutely no exceptions, are equally the infinite in expression. The only thing that changes or that is different is the level of awareness. The level of awareness that we have of that truth. When we build certain people, organizations, and circumstances into monsters, we give them a power which isn't real. We give away our own power, which is actually impossible to do because we always are spirit in form. But it can certainly feel like we are powerless. In reality, people who seem to have more power are really no less or more spirit than we are. Organizations that seem powerful and insurmountable are made up of individualized people who are, again, spirit in form. Each and every single one of them. Spirit is always and everywhere present. Always. The second idea is that the people, circumstances, and organizations we encounter, which seem all powerful, are actually people who have a high need for control. The need for control comes from fear. We must look away from the smoke and the mirrors of what seems to be and recenter ourselves in the truth of what really is, the truth of who we are, the truth of who everyone is. We must look away from that smoke and mirrors, from that untruth, from those monsters, right? Ernest Holmes reminds us, one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. First, we must be singularly focused on the divine and not have our attention pulled by the people, organizations, and circumstances outside of ourselves. Singularly focused. None of those things are first cause, and effect cannot create another effect. If you've had taken foundations, you've heard that. We are encouraged to align ourselves with the divine and then to allow that natural expression to flow through us. The story of the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt and their subsequent settling into the promised land is a story of listening to God in the midst of the cries of despair, listening to God in the midst of some pretty challenging circumstances. This story, like so many other hero's journey stories, shows the need of the hero, whether we're talking about an individual or we're talking about a community, to turn away from the monsters and turn to and listen for that internal wisdom, for that voice of the divine. The third idea is that once we are alone in consciousness with the divine, we are tapped into a power that is greater than we are. A power that is greater than we are. And as Ernest Holmes liked to say, we can use it. But we have to be aware of it. We have to be aligned with it. We have to be willing to allow it to work through and as us. We may not know the how of creating a better world, but that's not ours to know. We are here to declare or to claim or to affirm the what? A better world. A world that works for everyone. When we are alone in consciousness with the infinite, we align with the nature of the divine. So God's love, light, life, peace, joy, creativity, abundance, creativity, and unconditional love is ours. It is ours when we are in alignment with it and when we become willing to allow it to express through us. Most heroes' journey stories state that when the hero comes into their own nature, when they recognize their unity with the one, then all things that have been opposing them are swept away in front of them. Right? That road is made straight, or the crooked one straight, the bumpy one smooth, right? So often our first response to these outrageous circumstances is, right, fight or flight or freeze. Now, if we want to create real change, that hasn't always been working for us. So if we want to create real change, we must unwind from those conditioned patterns. And instead, we must look for a fourth pattern. And that fourth pattern is to turn within. To turn within. Not like we're hiding, but as in turning within to the infinite power within. We know, right? Be honest. We know what life enhancing looks like. We know what raising people up looks like. We don't always choose it, but we know what it's looked like if we're honest with ourselves, and we know what is not that. As people committed, you know, our global vision for Centers for Spiritual Living is a world that works for everyone. So as people that are committed by sitting in this room or listening to this talk to a world that works for all, we commit to taking a stance for life enhancing. And we have a choice. Every time we have a choice, is this life enhancing? Is this raising people up? Since Spirit is the ultimate source and first cause of life, we turn to that Spirit for clarity. We turn to that Spirit for wisdom, and then we act and live from that guidance, from that space, from that download. Today's underlying invitation is to remember that which seems like monsters, the people, the organization, and the circumstances in our lives are not always as they appear. When looked at through the mind of the infinite, from a higher perspective, a more wider lens, it is all smoke and mirrors. Nothing is as real or as solid as it seems. Nothing. Like monsters, those people, those organizations, those circumstances can make a lot of noise, huffing and puffing and threatening to blow down your house. But a house built on the solid foundation of Spirit cannot be blown down by bullies. Cannot be. Now, the form might go, the form might come and go. That's true of all things in the material world. The forms come and go, so the form might come and go. However, the real substance of Spirit cannot be blown down. Cannot be. And we don't have to stand in opposition to the monsters, but rather to know that everything and everyone is a spark of the divine. The spark of love. And when we can get past our fear and speak truth to our circumstances, as insurmountable as that might feel at times, or sitting here today, as insurmountable as that might feel, we can and will find a world, create a world that absolutely works for everyone. Amen. And so it is. Thank you all so very much. Check out the movie. It's very good. So I invite everyone to turn within, to close your outer eyes for a moment of prayer to anchor my words this morning. Turning away from that world of form, turning away from the people, the organizations, and the circumstances that in this moment may appear as monsters to us, that may feel like they get in the way of us really being able to be who and what we came here to be. And to turn our attention to the truth of who we are, to the center of our being, to that space and place that I call God, the spark of the divine, our Christ consciousness. And to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that is the truth of who we are. That there is absolutely nothing outside of ourselves that is more powerful than God. And so in this moment, I recognize my oneness with that presence. I know that it is that which created me in its image and likeness, that right where I am, all of the good God qualities live. And that it is my choice to be able to allow them to express through and as me, as an ambassador of God's presence on the planet. And just as I know that this is my truth, I know that it is absolutely true for each and every person here today, each and every person online, all of the people that will read this or listen to this at some other point in time, all people, all sentient beings on the planet. We are all one with the divine, connected in ways that can never be broken. And it is from that place of unity that I claim for ourselves that there is a way of living our lives from that inner wisdom, from that deep and abiding truth of our oneness with the divine. That right where we are, God is, and that God is a power and presence that we can use. That we can use to create lives that we love to live. And so I claim ease and grace around turning away from the appearance of monsters in our lives and to know that God is everywhere at all times or God is nowhere. And I choose to believe that God is everywhere at all times, even in the midst of the Israelites' cries and their unbelievable challenges, even in the midst of our challenging lives, even in the midst of a pandemic or the midst of terrible disasters, natural disasters, God is there. And when we look to that presence with a singular focus, we are raised up. We find that which we can look to bring us comfort, to bring us relief, to remind us of who we are. And when we live our lives from that space, anything is possible. And I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes, that my words are clothed in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and I release them into that law, fully expecting their manifestation, letting go and letting God be God. I invite each of us to anchor this prayer for ourselves, for each other, for our community, and for the world, simply by saying, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you all so very much. It is now time for, thank you. It is now time for our conscious giving. Yeah, let's clap about that. Woo! The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living is sustained by the giving of our time, talent, and treasure. This is the time every week when we offer financial support to assist this community to continue to be a beacon of light and love and warmth in the Greater Triangle area. Together, we affirm the truth that today's offering lifts this spiritual community, prospers the one giving, and contributes to the experience of sufficiency on the planet. There are several ways that you can give, and they're here on your screen or on your screen at home. The first is to visit our website at www.trianglecsl.org. You can text the word give to the following number, 919-230-8445, or you can mail your gift to our office. Our address is PO Box 4062 in Cary, North Carolina, 27519. So now I invite you to take your gift, place it over your heart with an affirmation for yourself or for our community, and repeat our offering affirmation in a call and response. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life. I give with gratitude, knowing God is my source. And so it is. And now while the baskets are being passed around, please welcome the amazing Sandy Hemingway back to his piano.
Thank you. I've always loved that movie. And one of the things about fear is fear, as Dusty said, we are programmed fight, flight, or freeze. One of the easiest and most reliable ways to fight fear is to share it with others. And that's what this song is about. when when you know someone else is in pain from fear, um, being there for them to reduce that fear, to help them reconnect, is something that I believe is one of our greatest gifts. You all know this song. If you want to sing along, feel free. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I'll dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water, I will hand it down like a bridge over troubled water. I will hand it down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will hand it down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. Sail on, silver curl. Sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. Oh, if you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a breeze you. Thank you.
Whew, absolutely beautiful, Sandy. Play it again. No. Equally lovely was looking at all of your beautiful faces during that song. So many of you singing along. Oh, okay. Now for announcements. If you would like prayers, please go to our website at trianglecsl.org. And on the home page, there's a button in the upper right hand corner. Click on that button and fill in the request form. We'll get that prayer and send it out to the ministers and the practitioners. If you would like to dedicate a flower dedication to anyone for anything, as you can see these beautiful flowers that are here today, please send an email to info@trianglecsl.org or to Reverend Dusty at dustyrippelmeyer@yahoo.com. Plan to join us today, please, after service for our monthly birthday celebration lunch bunch. It will be at Neomond on 10235 Chapel Hill Road here in Morrisville. The suite number is number 400. They have delicious food. I hope to see you all there. Please consider joining us for our annual Durham Bulls game experience at the end of the month. We will once again gather together to attend a Bulls game. It's always such a fun night. It is Friday, July 28th, and we'll be taking the first 25 people to sign up, and we've already had a pretty good calling for that, so get on it. Send an email to info@trianglecsl.org and let us know how many in your party, and we'll let you know if you can attend. There's fireworks that night too, so that'll be wonderful. Now, in the comfort of this beautiful space at 4 Points and in your own homes online, please stand for our June affirmations. July, thank you. We are in July. There's some sheets on your chairs as well, if that's easier for you to read, and feel free to take those home with you and tape them to your bathroom mirror, and you can say the affirmations all month. All right. This is a call and response. Please repeat it with meaning. This month, I choose to stop relating to the world from an us versus them perspective. This month, I choose to stop relating to the world from an us versus them perspective. Instead, I step back and awaken to the truth that there is no enemy out there. Instead, I step back and awaken to the truth that there is no enemy out there. I powerfully recognize the truth of spirit and align with its power. I powerfully recognize the truth of spirit and align with its power. With ease, truth replaces the hold of circumstances like light replaces darkness. With ease, truth replaces the hold of circumstances like light replaces darkness. I look out at the world with compassion and take action from that place. I look out at the world with compassion and take action from that place. I commit to the practice of visioning to catch what spirit wishes to express. I commit to the practice of visioning to catch what spirit wishes to express. I patiently support everyone in my life right where they are. I patiently support everyone in my life right where they are. And I stand in the power and wholeness of spirit that I am. I stand in the power and wholeness of spirit that I am. And so it is. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. I invite you to once again turn within as I speak a word of gratitude for this beautiful moment today that we've all shared. That presence and power of spirit is so palpable in this moment. It's always present, but even more so on these Sunday mornings. So grateful to know that amazing spirit always surrounding us, always supporting us, always loving us. So grateful to know my connection with it, that there is no separation. I'm so grateful for this morning's gathering, for each person here at 4 Points, for each person watching online, and for each person that may watch this service in the future, knowing that we are all connected by that golden thread of oneness. So grateful for Reverend Dusty, for her love of this community, for her humor, for her openness to receiving the word of God that she delivers to us so many of these Sundays. Grateful for this morning's message and looking at life in a little different way, being a little more open to realizing that the monsters that we may perceive in the world are just an illusion. So grateful for this community and for this life. I ask you to anchor this with me by saying, and so it is.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Take a look in your inboxes, because yesterday we sent out the Gourmets for God silent auction and booklet. So you'll get this booklet, and it'll have some information that you'll read about it, and then there are all of the different things. We have 11 events, and they will be listed, and then you'll get to see them. You'll get to see the description of them. You'll see the opening bid, and then underneath the picture, there's a thing that says your answer. It's a little confusing, but we couldn't change it to anything else. So what you're going to put in the space where it says your answer, click on that, will be your name, your opening bid, and your email address. Yes, Heather, do you want phone number too? Oh, it generates what they want you to have. Okay. And the number of people, yeah, the number of seats that you want and are bidding for. Okay. I maybe we're not exactly sure how that will all unfold. Yeah. So the thing was, in the past, we had these glass jars, and you could see the little pieces of paper. And while you couldn't read what they had on them, if the jar was getting pretty full, then you just thought, ooh, maybe I better up my bid. So the suggestion is, just think, maybe I better up my bid. Just saying. Just saying. All right. So come and join us at Neomon for all of you July birthdays. And I think there's probably still time for you to jump in your car and get on over there. So we'll see you all soon. Have a great 4th of July. Enjoy whatever it is that you're doing, and we'll see you next week. I love you.